A lot of people feel like they're the only ones that are fighting for their relationship. Like they are dragging all the emotional weight on their own. And it can feel really lonely. It can feel really unfair. And it can even make you wonder, why the hell am I even trying? But here's the thing, what feels like a one-sided battle, when you look at it in the right way, this battle right now can change the dynamic of the relationship for good. So in this video, I'm going to break down why repairing your relationship isn't quite as one-sided as it seems. I'm going to talk about the impact that this one-sidedness can have and the shift in mindset that can change the way your relationship turns out. Ultimately, I'm going to talk about how you can create powerful changes in your relationship, even when it feels like you're the only one trying. So I get it. When you're the one trying to fix a relationship, it can be super easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you are the one that's doing all the work, especially while the other person, maybe they're coasting, maybe they're just completely resisting and rejecting you. It's this belief in itself that can sabotage your relationship. It can build a lot of resentment within yourself. Repairing a relationship can feel really one-sided, but falling into this mindset causes a lot more problems than it solves. So this one-sided feeling is actually a combination of multiple things. But all of these things are mistakes if you're trying to repair your relationship. The first mistake that you can fall into is what we call the illusion of blame. So it can be very easy to fall into this idea that I didn't cause all of the mistakes, so I shouldn't be the one that fixes all of them. Remember that you're not doing it to fix your partner. This is not you versus your partner. This is not about who caused the damage. You're doing it for something different. You're not repairing your partner. You're doing it to repair the relationship. So the relationship itself is bigger than you or your partner. Relationships are a living, breathing system. And this is a system that thrives when someone takes the lead. If you get in this stuck of, why am I the only one that's trying here? Why is my partner not doing it? I'm doing all the work. You're falling into this blame illusion. And I want to be very clear about this. Blame is very, very easy. If you think that repairing the relationship involves pointing fingers at your partner, then this is the easy route out. This is not the difficult choice. This is not the work. This is actually the opposite. Blame is easy, but it's also bullshit. You might think, well, they did X, so it's their job to fix it. But here's the thing, blame feels satisfying in the short term, but it becomes a dead end. The more that you play this blame game, the less power you give yourself and your partner to actually change anything. It shirks a lot of responsibility. Another reason why it feels one-sided is because you're playing fixer, not leader. So a lot of people, especially guys, rush in with the wrong energy when trying to repair a relationship. You sort of get into this habit of, I'll fix this. I'll do the dishes. I'll send a cute text. I'll put in all this effort and she'll see I'm trying. She'll see that I'm fixing the relationship. But this fixing ends up being very, very shallow and it lacks a lot of the emotional depth and consistency that is needed to become a leader. So when it comes to a relationship, band-aid gestures aren't rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust is done in a very, very different way. So even when you try to focus on the relationship rather than fixing your partner, you still can fall into this mindset that this is something that you need to do in order to get your partner to see that the relationship is worthwhile. So by trying to fix the relationship and not getting the response that you want from your partner, you end up becoming demotivated. You have this up-down cycle. You end up doing things for an outcome rather than doing things because this is the way you live your life. The other mistake that you end up falling into with this one-sided idea is what we call the victim mindset. So I've done a longer video on it, which I'll link to above and in the description down below. But if you're falling into this idea that putting all this effort into the relationship is unfair, it's very easy to slip into this victim mindset. So this whole idea of, why should I have to do all this? Why should I be doing this when my partner is mad? My partner doesn't respect me. My partner doesn't compliment me. My partner isn't seeing all of the changes that I'm making, all the effort that I'm putting in. And this again is because you're doing things in a way that this is you versus your partner, rather than this is something that you do in a relationship. This is what we call dichotomous thinking. You think that there's a good guy and a bad guy. You think that there's an attacker and there's a victim. If you think about it, in order to be a victim, there has to be an attacker. There has to be an aggressor. So when you fall into a victim mindset, your partner automatically becomes the aggressor. They become the bad one. You become the wronged one. And again, this splits you and your partner into two separate entities rather than the relationship as a whole. The reality of relationships is that they're messy and both sides contribute. By falling into this victim mindset, you create two extremes and it removes all of the nuance out of it. And again, you focus on the relationship being you and your partner rather than its own separate entity. And another mistake that contributes to this whole idea that it's one-sided is that you don't understand why your partner is resisting the relationship in the first place. So partners resist efforts to repair this relationship for a lot of different reasons. Ultimately, resistance is a defense mechanism. This is not a rejection of your effort. The more that you take the time to empathize and understand why your partner is resisting this relationship, the easier it will be to start repairing it. The easier it will be to focus on actual practical solutions as well as emotional empathy that will actually drive your relationship forward, instead of getting into your own head and thinking about this whole two different sides. So I'm just about to jump into how to shift away from some of these mindsets, this one-sided idea mindset, and actually start to repair the relationship. But obviously there is only so much that I can dive into in a YouTube video. So if you do want to start your journey into understanding deeper relationships and how to repair them properly, then join me and the other members on my relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the same steps and tools that all of my members have used to start turning their relationship around. All you have to do is click on the link in the description to grab your spot. So the first step is to make sure that you're leading with consistency. So this is leading by example. In order to get out of this one-sided view of the relationship, you need to start showing up as the version of you that you would want to be in a thriving relationship. So this is showing up in the way that you want to show up in a relationship, regardless of how your partner is acting. So this is showing love, patience, empathy, and digging deeper and understanding your partner, not to manipulate them, but to create a new standard of connection within the relationship. This consistency is what builds trust with your partner. Showing up in the small moments and the big moments in effective ways is going to repair the relationship. And this involves making sure that you're speaking their language. It can be easy to fool yourself into thinking that you're doing all the right things, but still getting nowhere. But the chances are that you're just not speaking the right emotional language within the relationship. So a lot of people get into this idea of the golden rule, treat others the way that you would like to be treated. And it can be easy to get into your mind of this idea of, well, they're not treating me the way that they would want to be treated, or I'm going to treat them the way that they're treating me. But that's not the way things work. For example, when you want to talk about what you need, you can do it in a very aggressive way, or you can do it in a very demanding way. Or for example, when your partner wants to express themselves, you can fall into this victim mindset of, well, they're not treating me with respect. Ultimately, if you want to learn how to communicate, you've got to learn the communication of the other person. This is not about saying the right words. This is about being able to communicate on the same level as your partner. This isn't about better or worse. This is about meeting them where they're at. And this is a really crucial mindset shift. Getting out of this idea of, well, I'm doing things the right way, or I said things politely. This is about getting into the right mindset of understanding the way that humans work and that they are a different person. And the way that you speak may not be the effective way to communicate with them. So shifting that and speaking their language so that you can repair the relationship in an effective way. Next, it's really crucial to make sure that you invite, but don't demand participation. So again, with this whole idea that this is one-sided, when you get into this mindset of you putting in all this effort and they're putting in zero effort, it can start to get into an expectation that, well, they need to put in the effort. I'm putting in 100%. Why aren't they putting in 100%? And you can start to put your foot down and become assertive and start demanding that they do certain things. But the thing is that people don't like being told what to do, period. So if you start making demands when you're in no position to do so, especially if your partner is on the way out or they've broken up with you, this is what we call falling into the paradox of control, where you're trying to force an outcome from your partner. But the truth is that if your partner is to join you in repairing things, they need to feel invited to do it. They need to feel inspired to do it, not guilted or coerced. So for example, if the relationship is falling apart, or even if you're in the middle of breaking up, instead of saying, we need to talk about the relationship, or you should be working on the relationship, or we need to have these conversations, you could say something along the lines of, I've been working on improving myself and trying to improve our relationship because it really matters to me. I'd love for us to be able to talk about this together. But maybe it's too emotionally draining on you. What do you think? This shows that you're willing to take the lead, but you're not forcing your partner to collaborate, and there's zero pressure there for them to do so. And most crucially of all, it's important to focus on creating systems instead of relying on this idea of goals. The more that you try to force a relationship, the more that you try to force an outcome, to have this goal, we need to be happily married, we need to stay together for the kids. These goals can actually end up setting you up for failure within the relationship because they're completely outcome focused. It becomes a win-lose scenario. There are so many things in life that can happen that throw a curveball to plans. So if you have this constant, dichotomous thinking, this black and white thinking of win-lose, we're either together or we're not. You create a win or lose scenario for this, which means that if you don't get that exact outcome, you've failed and the whole relationship has failed. Whereas if you focus on systems, focusing on the process and the daily habits and behaviors that create a lasting change within the relationship, then you're much more likely to get outcomes as a result of that. So if you think about a business, for example, If you aim to create a business that generates $1 million, you're going to fail most of the time because 99% of the time you are not generating $1 million. However, if you create a great business and work on improving and iterating that business, then over time, you're going to get closer and closer and closer to this scenario that you're looking for. And this is crucial when it comes to repairing a relationship. When you just have the goal of reconciling and getting back together, then it becomes very win-lose. The problem is that you're not thinking about the how. So if your partner is not coming back to you right now, it's because they know that the system doesn't work. So even if they get back with you, even if they love you more than anything, the how hasn't been solved. The system is still broken. So if you get back together, the problems are still going to be there. And this is what a lot of my members have found helpful in terms of repairing the relationship, is focusing on how to shift from this one-sided idea into practical, effective steps to start repairing the relationship. Whereas when you focus on the systems, on how the relationship is going to work, then repair becomes inevitable because you understand the engine behind it and how it works. So even if it's not a perfect system right now, knowing that you know how to repair the engine over time is going to help to start the first steps of repairing this relationship long term. It just becomes a matter of time for the system to develop and to create a great relationship. Now, I've spoken about systems thinking in relationships before. There's a deeper dive video, which I'll link to on the screen. But ultimately, shifting away from goals thinking into systems thinking is going to be crucial for you repairing this relationship in the right way. So I'm going to leave you with that deep dive video on systems thinking, and I will see you over there.